Yeah, what's up, everyone? Hope you're all doing well on this Thursday evening. Here to be talking some Scream 7, obviously, by the title, thumbnail, all that stuff. So I guess I'll get it out of the way now. If you haven't seen the movie, FYI, spoilers will be discussed pretty much at length in this live stream. It's intended for folks that either have watched it or, I guess, don't care about the spoiler aspect of stuff. So let me grab some quick tunes to throw on while we kind of hang out and chat. What's up, King Matthew? Hope you're well. Thanks for being here. Let me grab this. I did almost start with an intro clip, but I feel like I probably need to add some transitions and stuff to OBS to make it a little bit better. Maybe I'll do it for next live stream. We'll see. But all right, is that an okay level? Is that a little too low, maybe? Turn it up a little bit, maybe. All right, cool. So yeah, the point of today is to talk about Scream 7 at more length than I did in my review video. I feel like there's probably a lot of rambling I could have done, and I was like, let's just do it in a live stream instead. We'll see how long we go for. Probably depends on if folks are chiming in or not. Otherwise, if it's just me like blabbering, it may go pretty quick. So we'll see. But yeah, Scream 7. So there's a few things I did want to pull up. I didn't have like the most put together plan for the today's stream, but want to kind of just talk general ideas when it comes to like the plot, characters, thoughts on them, maybe the direction going forward and so forth. Larky, don't care about spoilers. Fair. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here, despite I know that the subject may not be your cup of tea. I saw yesterday, actually, there was like a ton of people doing live streams on Scream. So probably good I didn't do it yesterday, because it seemed like that was a popular streaming topic. Yeah. So it is interesting. I did see, though, actually, after this movie, Scream has now become the 6th horror franchise to make $1 billion, which obviously it's still making money at this point, but the other ones were interesting. I think they, for the most part, made sense. So it's The Conjuring, It, Alien, Resident Evil, Saw, and now Scream are the $6 billion horror franchises thus far. What's up, Rusty? This dude was just an illusion. Yeah. I think the AI was too overused in Scream 7. Stooping AI was fine, but it got repetitive when Dewey appeared. Yeah, we'll get to the reveal stuff as well, but I agree. I personally thought that Stu's portion of it was well done. I thought anytime they had him on camera with his like pretty much just berating Sydney or whoever he was talking to, I thought Matthew Lillard did a good job in that role, and I thought it was effective. At the same time, I didn't really ever think Stu was actually gonna be coming back. Maybe some of that was I realized it didn't have the best reviews, and I think people probably would have been happy to see that. But I guess we can jump into that now. We'll just bounce all around. The other AI uses I thought were pretty poor, in my opinion. And I'm going to try to probably give some praise and some criticism and not just totally dogpile on stuff. So we'll do our best to cover both sides of things. But I thought Stu's role with the AI stuff was pretty strong. I thought the other characters they brought back didn't make a whole lot of sense for me. Like, I think even when Sydney was approaching the house at the end of the movie, and in my head, I'm like, wait a minute. We haven't gotten any uses of these other characters that are supposed to be in this movie. I'm like, where's Dewey? Where's Roman? Where's any of these characters? And then they really quickly hit us with like 3 of them, because it's Dewey, Mrs. Loomis, and Roman. Were those the only three? Was there a fourth one? I'm trying to think who the other one could have been, but yeah, they were not. Those were not great for me. Dewey looked like he'd been through the ringer, which is probably the point of it, but he kind of just looked like I don't know, like he looked like Tom DeLonge or something. He had like a emo parted haircut, but those I feel like were throw-ins that didn't make sense. Like, I thought if you did Dewey somehow with the AI stuff, having him talk to Gale could have been more effective instead of just being at the end being like, hey Sydney, look what happened to me, kind of thing. Definitely wasn't coming back. I mean, I think there was a potential for it, but I think the way that they kind of put some breadcrumbs led me to think not. It did feel very similar to Jigsaw for folks who saw that movie, where it's like, hey, John Kramer's back. It's like, dude, what? He had like an autopsy in Saw 4. I don't think he's back. But it kind of felt like it did some of that stuff, but not necessarily. I mean, it wasn't great in Jigsaw either. I think anytime you do that fake out where it's like, oh, maybe they're back, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I think I mean, Stu's not probably my favorite character in the franchise. I know a lot of people are big fans of his. I think he's fine. Like, maybe I'll do a Ghostface ranking at some point, and he would be up there, but he wouldn't be at the top, I would say. So I know a lot of people really wanted him to come back. I kind of had debated before where originally when it got the announcement, I was like, dude, fans are going to riot if they don't have Stu come back, and it's like a fake out. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, then the reveal would be kind of already spoiled if Stu came back. So you could probably debate it both ways, but I don't know. I thought Matthew Lillard did a good job, and that role was done well given the script and stuff. So the energy with Dewey. Yeah, it was just like a throwaway scene with Sydney at the end. It kind of felt like, I don't want to say 100% this, but it kind of felt like that was used months ago to get a lot of hype for the film, and it didn't really have much of a payoff. It was funny though. I was it yesterday? I watched Scott Foley, Roman's character, do an interview, and he's like, I haven't watched any. He told the interviewer he hasn't watched any of the Screams after his. So I was like, okay, fair enough. I guess you don't need to know any of that. I don't think he knew how the movie ended even. He just did like his one line. I kind of felt like those videos they play at the end, they could have had those actors just like record it at home and just use a fake background, and that'd be it. But yeah, let's kind of run through a few aspects of it. What should we start with? Should we just go from like start to finish, I would say? So the opening. What'd you guys think of the opening? I thought it was pretty well done. Granted, it was all in the trailer, and I knew these characters weren't going to be in the movie for long. But I thought Scott and Madison, I think they're their names, I think they did great. Honestly, I think both of them would have been better. Like, they were more developed than a lot of the characters we got in the movie. Like, a lot of Tatum's friends, I don't feel like had much personality or depth in them that we got to see. I feel like in the first like 15 minutes of these two characters, we got a lot more of it than with characters in the rest of the film. It kind of also reminded me of, for folks that have watched Barbarian, when they roll up to the house, it kind of was giving Barbarian, where it's like, hey, we're at this Airbnb, but it's a little bit sketch, maybe, kind of thing. With the whole like Stu's house being a bit of a museum at this point. And I think those characters, they felt real too. Like, they acted well. They, they weren't perfect. They had issues with each other and stuff like that, but they were believable, I guess, enjoyable to have on screen. But then that didn't relate to the rest of the movie, right? Because I've seen some people even say, hey, maybe Stu was the one that killed the people at the beginning, and then the rest of the movie was the rest of the characters, because I kind of feel like if you have an opening kill, they kind of almost did what Saw does a lot of times, where it's like, this doesn't really relate to the rest of the movie at all. Like, I'm thinking of the Venus flytrap, for example, of Saw 2. I mean, granted, I think Matthews goes to the crime scene and stuff like that, so there is some involvement. But we literally have this opening scene with some good build-up, and these two characters wind up dying, and then we just cut to like the title screen, and then we move on, and we're not in Woodsboro anymore. That's it. That's like the quick moment of the old town and stuff, and there's no mention of it later on. So I don't really get the point or the value for it, other than just like extra content for the sake of it. It gave them a trailer to use, I guess, but none of that stuff was consequential to like the rest of the movie. I mentioned in my review, I was like, if you had one of them be the killer, that would have been cool. Like kind of a surprise reveal at the end where they're like, hey, I went to go to Stu's house and I got more like enamored with him and wanted to be like him. So then they turned into Ghostface or something, but it was just so irrelevant from the rest of the movie. It was good. It just didn't come back into play. The kill of Scott, though, I thought was really well done, though, where they stab in the head and then you see his eye like rotate because the knife is like presumably moving his eye in his head. Like, that was pretty gnarly. And then the Madison kill we already saw in the trailer because she falls from the balcony or whatever, or the chandelier. I mean, we didn't see the like payoff of that, but we kind of did because we see him burning the house down in the trailer too. Probably the best opening. Yeah, same point I was just making with the knife to the head. I do think it is one of the better openings, I will say, because I'm trying to think of all of them in totality. Despite loving Scream 4, I don't really like the fake out opening in that movie. 2 is okay with the movie theater stuff. 3 with what's his name, Cotton. Yeah, they don't always have the best openings at times. I mean, the first one's obviously iconic, but I think the opening was better. Like, if I was comparing the opening to the openings of other Scream movies versus like Scream 7 to the other Scream movies, I think the opening has a better chance of not being in last place. In fact, I would say it's not in last place. One of your other favorite scenes is when Ghostface invades Sydney's house. That was cool. I mean, we also did see that in the trailer, but it was cool. It was a little bit cheesy. We'll get to that stuff, but the Gale arrival was a little bit too cheesy probably for me. All right, so after the opening, we kind of then just cut to Sydney's house, and I may be missing some stuff here and there, but in broad strokes here, you have Tatum there. We're introduced to her character, and you have Ben, the boyfriend, come through the window, which very much was like replicating the first Scream. It felt like. Also, the intro was kind of cool how they did it, but it was very much like member berries for the Scream opening title. And then we got cut from that to him coming through the window, just like Billy did in the original, which maybe could have been interesting if you had like a Stu teaming up with Ben, because Ben was kind of like the modern day Billy. Maybe that would have worked. Maybe people would have been mad if it was too much copying, but I thought Ben was okay as a character. I don't think he was that strong. I also didn't feel like Tatum was that strong, if I'm being honest. I think a lot of people felt like they thought that she did a good job, which, I don't know, just the character wasn't the strongest for me. But like that opening scene where like Ben's interacting with Sydney, I thought was okay. She's like being the overprotective parent, kicking him out and stuff like that. Although I feel like she's probably tame compared to a lot of what a lot of parents would have reacted, but I thought Sydney was probably the best character in this movie. And maybe that's by design. It's kind of returning to her roots and making her the star again. Because even though she was in 5, she wasn't really the main story of 5. It was like these new characters. So I think she thrived with kind of taking the mantle again, at least for this movie. I don't know if they really can do that a lot going forward. I mean, each of these Scream movies kind of are their own thing. I mean, there is some obviously progression of characters throughout each of them. But how many times are we gonna have somebody attack Sydney and have it be still fresh? I don't know. Maybe this was the last time. Like, obviously, we tried to do the handing of the torch for 5 and 6, but we kind of backtracked a little bit here. Maybe we'll hand the torch to Tatum. Not sure. But then you have the coffee scene. So Sydney's now in this new town, and she is working at this coffee shop. And we see this name, Carl, on the coffee cup. And that's pretty much all we get of this character, which felt a little bit ominous. Like, you showed us the name for a reason, but didn't really tell us much about the character. But then at this point, it's a lot of, I don't know, it felt a little bit over the top too much. I know when new characters get introduced to movies and shows and stuff, you have to like give us their backstory pretty quickly, or like their names and stuff. It felt a little bit forced from my personal experience when they were like showing us like Jessica and her son. Like, it was very much a, hey, what's your name kind of thing, and what's your background, and what do you like to do? Like, it was catching us up, but it was doing it in a way that didn't feel like genuine or authentic. But we kind of get introduced to Jessica and her son, and that's for the most part her involvement. We see her once later on as well during the home invasion. But they definitely tried to just like hint at people, and then every time they made someone look guilty, that person was actually not the killer. Like, they made this the second guy I predicted in my short where I just pulled people from the poster, the like theater teacher. They tried to make him look suspicious all the time. And same with the kid. So Jessica's son, what's his name? Lucas, I think it was what it was. Like, they try to make him look suspicious. Every time somebody looks suspicious, I'm like, okay, well, it's probably not you now. They even do it later on with Ben's character. But yeah, we kind of have like the setup of the characters. Tatum goes to school with her friends. They talk about having like a party and stuff. Sydney goes to her job, and then she gets the call from Stu. And well, it's, I guess, Ghostface at first. Which that was something somebody mentioned, that because we had Stu in AI form here, it reduced the amount of times we got the Roger Jackson Ghostface voice, which is true, but I think it's fine. But yeah, so she obviously gets the FaceTime then from him, and it's Stu. It was kind of weird. He was like all scarred up, but then when we see him later on, I don't feel like, maybe it's because he was farther away, I don't feel like he was as scarred up as that first time we're shown his character. But yeah, he claims he's like back or whatever, and is at Tatum's school. Tatum kind of lost you because I was enjoying your character. Oh, so you didn't like the very end then. That's like the last thing she says almost. I wasn't really enjoying her character. I think a lot of people said they did, so I may be the outlier, but I don't know. But yeah, so then sure enough, she like rushes over to the school. I don't know why she doesn't. Maybe she tries to, but she calls her husband, who's a cop, conveniently, Joel McHale's character, which I thought he did okay. He wasn't like the best, but not the worst either. He rushes over to the school, sends like all of the forces to the school for some reason. But she never calls her daughter and talks to her. And that's when we get our first kills of the movie. Very quickly, so McKenna Grace is the one. Let me grab. I meant to have the character list up. Yeah, Hannah was her character name, which she was barely in the movie. Maybe that's good, because actually that song with her and Ice Nine Kills, I feel like that would have been a little bit too obvious if she was like a bad guy. But they're at the theater or whatever, and she's still dangling in her like position from doing the stuff in the theater with the wiring. And then sure enough, Ghostface kills the person who's supposed to help her down, and then throws her all over the stadium or whatever, or all over the stage or whatever. And her kill was okay, I guess. She's like swinging back and forth, and he just like puts the knife up and slices her, and all of her intestines just fall out, which is a okay set piece for like when the cops show up and stuff like that. I don't know if we ever got the name of the other kid that died, the one that was just like doing the bullying and stuff, but yeah, she was quick for sure. She was not in there for long, which maybe she was, as I said, used more for promotion stuff. She's in a ton of stuff also. Here's one big criticism I did have. I think I pointed out in the spoiler section of my video though, like, so Hannah dies, this girl who's presumably one of Tatum's best friends, and like they're supposed to be going to a party later and stuff like that. She dies, and nobody really mourns the death of these characters. Like the guy in the back and then her, nobody really cares. Like they're shocked that somebody died, but the fact that it was her friend, I feel like just gets forgotten. She pretty quickly is suddenly like, hey, I want to hang out with my boyfriend. Mom, come on. It's like, do you not care that your friend just died? I don't know. It felt like if they were going to do that, they should have made her not as like part of her friend group. So it just felt like nobody had any concern about these characters dying. But then we do respond aggressively and have like a curfew for the town and send Sydney and her daughter and husband home to get like their to-go bag so that they can leave. And then that kind of blows up as well. But yeah, none of the theater stuff I feel like really wound up doing a whole lot. It just kind of set off the chain event of like there's a crisis. So then they go home to get their bag or whatever to pack, and of course her daughter doesn't have hers ready. And the cops search the house before they go in to make sure it's safe. But they don't check the attic. Like what? What like I guess you want to assume maybe like that's not someplace you would think someone would hide, but I don't know. If you're doing a search of the house at all, probably check all of it. And they were like, hey, we got to do it quick. So maybe that's the excuse, but you have Ghostface up in the attic, just come down, which kind of felt like Summer of '84 a little bit. With the jumping down from the attic. Then obviously it starts the fight with the Sydney and her husband and her daughter there. Joel McHale gets kind of thrown around. They kind of fight for a bit. And then Sydney and her daughter go to the safe because apparently Sydney's kind of done what Laurie Strode did a little bit in Halloween, a little bit less of a funhouse of horrors and more so just a like secure place, and has this big safe in her room, which we saw in the trailer where they go through the walls and stuff. It was a little bit gimmicky when he stabs through the wall with the knife and she just like pokes it with like the weapon that she has, and it just bends the knife. Felt like that was very easily bent, that thing, and he just kind of like held it there to be pushed in, but pretty much like takes his weapon away. And then that all culminates after they fight in the house for a little bit with, actually there's also another part where she grabs like the bird feeder or birdhouse and like whacks him with it. But yeah, Ghostface is just like out in the street, and this part was probably the cheesiest thing. Well, one of two cheesiest moments in the movie, where Ghostface gets run over. So Ghostface is dead, and sure enough, Gail gets out with Chad and Mindy, and that we did see that in the trailer. We didn't see that she ran over Ghostface right before it, but that felt like a very cheesy way to take out the killer. I know the objective is like, hey, introduce Gail in a cool way, make her like a badass, but I was like, ew. The odds she was there right when Ghostface was at the house. Sure. True. Yeah. They, I mean, they do that in movies sometimes where some of the trailer dialogue or just content isn't in the movie. But sure, there was no burn it all down line. Even though we did burn it all down. I will say, I said this kind of in my review. That house at the beginning burned down so quickly. Like every window was just up in flames. I'm like, all right, I don't believe that would have happened that aggressively, but sure. But yeah, so Gale, Chad, Mindy show up, and then we find out who this character is. It's Carl from the beginning. You guys remember Carl? He got the coffee, right? It's some character we've pretty much not seen at all, which was an interesting tactic, actually, just like some unknown killer. But they look into him and they're like, hey, we need to go to this facility where he was staying previously and try to learn more about him. So Sydney goes with Gale and the family stays put. And here's where the cops just are gone for the rest of the movie. I don't know why. It didn't make sense at all. Like, they checked the house before the incident. They were supposed to survey the area. There's supposed to be a curfew. And we don't see cops anymore. So Mark is just at home, Sydney's husband, with Tatum and Chad and Mindy are hanging out. And Chad and Mindy convince Tatum, hey, let's go sneak out. Let's go to the bar, hang out with your friends. Let's try to find out who the killer is. Meanwhile, Gale and Sydney are traveling to this facility. And sure enough, they get there. And the first guy they meet is this guy named Marco, which I don't think I really know this actor, Ethan Embry. I think a lot of people said that they assumed he would be the killer because he was like recognizable, but I didn't really know him from anything. But sure enough, he's there and he's like, yeah, I knew this guy. He got out a couple weeks ago. And then they show him a picture of Stu. And right away he's like, oh yeah, I recognize that guy. His name is John Doe. He lived a couple doors down here. And they go over to that room and stuff. And apparently this guy checked out that looked exactly like Stu, which at that time I'm like, okay, you're the killer because you say you recognize Stu. And we know Stu's not coming back at this point. I feel like he's definitely trying to cover it up. Although at the same time, why would he admit to that? He kind of just put himself in the line of fire a little bit by admitting to recognizing Stu. Like his weird made up lie actually kind of incriminated himself like more, but whole house deck thing made Cindy kind of dumb. Yeah, that was the other thing too. I mean, later on we're told that one of the Ghostface is like a genius when it comes to technology. But Sydney with all these cameras didn't see Ghostface enter the house. My only guess could be that like he hacked the cameras and then removed the footage of him coming in, but they never said that, so it's just kind of me assuming. But yeah, they go to this asylum and this guy just pretty much just creepily goes like, oh yeah, I recognize Stu. Which I assume is supposed to tell us, oh, maybe Stu's actually alive. Because Sydney and Gale both kind of were like, maybe, you never know. And they kind of hint that stuff throughout the movie. Although at the same time, they pretty heavily emphasize he has to be dead. Even during the meta stuff with Mindy at the bar, she's like, no, we're not doing, we're not retconning his death here. When she's doing the like giving the horror movie spiel or whatever. But yeah, so Chad and Mindy just let Tatum go like out and take off. And meanwhile, Mark is in their house, like going through the garage. And there's like, of course, all these pieces of like plastic up or whatever, trying to like hide behind them and stuff. And he goes in the garage and he sees the garage doors open and he just like casually closes it. He's not like concerned at all. He's not like, huh, why is that open or anything? So when he closes it, he just starts walking away. Then he gets like jumped. And at this point, I assumed he was probably dead. But we learned that he did not die here somehow. The amount of people surviving or dying definitely was dramatically all over the place, which maybe that's realistic. some people live from some crazy stuff, some people don't. So, but somehow he got like stabbed a bunch and left in the garage all day, and it was totally fine. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind trailer misdirects too much as long as they're not like making the movie seem like something it wasn't. But then we have Sydney agree to go to do an interview with Gail and this other guy, Robbie Rivers, something like that. So she's giving the interview that she's always wanted to do with her. And the attempt is to bring Stu out because it's going to make him so mad, he's going to call them or reach back out. They try that. They have some drama between Sydney and Gail. They're like still not like total BFFs. When Gail kind of tries to like put her daughter in a line of fire. But they have that happen. And then eventually Sydney like decides she has to go to the bar because that she gets a call and pretty much implies that's where Ghostface is now. Because Tatum's there. And similar to the theater thing from earlier, Ghostface is also there. But I don't really know what her plan was. She like gets out of the place, goes to try to get in the car and start it. Car's locked. So then she just runs down the street. Maybe you want to say if that's like a mother's love and she wasn't thinking rationally, but why does she not just go back inside, get the keys, and get in the car? Instead, she just runs down the street, and really, I think the point is to show off the curfew and her like FaceTiming and just on the phone with her daughter when she's like looking at the cameras and stuff. But so yeah, so then we have the whole bar scene where we get probably most of the violence throughout the movie. You have this girl Chloe, who I thought actually was the best of the like younger cast, the new young cast. I thought Chloe was the best as a character. Felt the most believable. Didn't feel like they were like overacting. But she winds up getting grabbed by Ghostface and just like dragged on the bar top into the glasses and dies from that, which I guess probably, yeah, you have glass you're landing on stuff. Kind of makes sense, but I felt like she kind of died pretty quickly. And then we have the other guy in there, the nerdier kid, Lucas. And his kill was the second thing. I mentioned the Gale car at the beginning. This was the second thing that I felt was like too over the top. I don't mind some over the top stuff, but you have the kill with Lucas being put on the beer tap. And then his mouth opens and beer and blood are going through the tap. It's like, okay. I see what you were going for, but I don't know. It took me out of the movie a little bit. Gail's lucky Sydney wasn't she wasn't the OG. Yeah, I thought somebody could have gotten punched for sure between that friend group. So then we have like Tatum run off with her boyfriend, and she gets in the car and she sees this computer and sees that, oh, he's got the fakes of being Stu on his computer, which definitely was intended to be misdirect for us. But then she like smacks him with the computer and runs off on her own. And I don't really get what the point of his, like, he was doing these impersonations where he was trying to pretend to be Ghostface talking to Sydney. But why? Like, he was a smart kid. I think the point was he was supposed to be doing, like, trying to replicate the AI to see if he could do it, see if it was actually a fake or if it was Stu. But in doing that, he also, like, says these very aggressive lines towards Sydney. I'm like, why wouldn't you just be like, hey, this is a test. I'm seeing if this works. Like, it felt like very over the top trying to incriminate him overall. But then Tatum runs off, runs down the street, goes to the mom's coffee shop, and Ghostface chasing after them. She winds up, her mom tells her, like, hey, get the gun in the office. And she's like, all right, here's a kind of a small nitpick I pointed out. She goes to the office, and then thankfully they talk again because she tells her, hey, it's in the safe and here's the safe code. But it's like, why wouldn't Sydney have told her that from the jump? Like, you can't just say, hey, get the gun from the office without any more instructions. But that was a bit of a nitpick. So then we do the scene that we kind of, I think, also saw in the trailer where Ghostface gets in. I assume the reason for them knowing the code to the coffee place is because it was the neighbor. But yeah, we have Tatum shoot through the wall with Sydney's guidance. And then we kind of really over the top, this movie emphasized, hey, you got to shoot him in the head. Otherwise they come back. Which obviously we're getting goofy. We're the 7th installment of a franchise at this point, but they turn these Ghostface into zombies where you have to double tap them. You have to make sure you pop them in the head. Otherwise, they're still going to be alive. So we do that, and then she winds up getting overtaken by Ghostface after having shot him. And then we very quickly kill off Ben. Like, she runs into Ben out in the streets and stuff, and for some reason suddenly changes her mind. She's like, I believe you now. I'm like, you just hit him with the computer. What do you mean you believe him now? And then, like, as they're making up or whatever, he just gets, like, murked by Ghostface. It's like, all right, that's it. Which at this point, we're running out of characters. So if it wasn't obvious already who the killers are, it became obvious at this point. So she gets kidnapped by Ghostface, and then Ghostface goes to Sydney and is like, hey, I'm at your house. I have Tatum. So Sydney goes there, sees all the cameos that we talked about earlier with like David Arquette and Scott Foley and Mrs. Loomis, which I had to like tell myself that was actually her, because I guess you could do this, but I don't really get the point of it for anyone other than Stu. But like, they made them look like what they look like today. Whereas I would think if you're doing like a character from the past and not intending to be still alive, you would probably use their previous persona. But either way, technically Scream 5 started the trend of having to shoot the killer. Yeah, they've done it before, but I feel like they really pushed it this movie. Maybe they're trying to just member berries that a little bit. But then we get the reveal finally, and I don't know. I think people, for the most part, didn't like even if you liked the movie, I think a lot of people were let down by the reveal. So I guess if for anyone unaware, or just to kind of run through it, we have Marco take off his mask. So yeah, the guy from the hospital earlier in the movie who said, hey, I recognize Stu. He is one of the Ghostface, and he's like, yeah, I'm super smart. I can do a lot of AI stuff. I can pretty much just give me any ability to do technology stuff and I can do it. So any like tech stuff throughout the movie, we just attribute to his brain, even though it doesn't really make sense with him working in this facility and everything else about him as a character. The choices he made, I don't feel like aligned to somebody who would be able to do all that stuff, but fine. And then he does the whole thing like, and here's Stu, and we see the other Ghostface, and sure enough takes the mask off, and it's Jessica, Anna Camp's character, which we did get that one right in the short that I did. It's kind of funny, in the poster they wound up picking two people that were right next to each other. We also had Carl, but he wasn't even on the poster. He wasn't even a character I knew existed until the movie started. But they opted for two killers right next to each other on the poster, which was interesting. Yeah, I would say Jessica was probably, I mean, she had the most like monologuing as far as like the motive or whatever, because the other two were just kind of like crazy people. I didn't hate the idea of having somebody without getting their motive necessarily, like a Carl, but it just felt like that combined with how we handled Marco and Jessica, I think fell a little bit flat. And we get the reveal of talking about Jessica, that she, like, I don't know, her motive just felt like very questionable. Like she was in a bad relationship, and then heard Sydney's story and then killed her husband and then also killed her son, potentially, if she was the one at the bar that put him on the bar tap. Which at the time, it was kind of interesting though. So I thought Marco was the killer after we saw him at the facility. But when we're shown Lucas getting killed by Ghostface, I think the intent there is to be like, hey, it can't be his mom because he's dying here. But I think in that moment, for some reason, I was like, actually, I think they're gonna do that, where they're like, that's what they wanted us to not think. But it was, she apparently was so crazy that she would kill her own kid, which I think we've done that before too. So the motive was a little bit weak. She wanted to like have Sydney kind of continue her trauma because she looked up to her, and then she kind of became just a regular suburban mom. I've seen some people also point out, I don't pay attention to this stuff as much, so I don't know for sure, nor do I overly care, I guess. But Tatum being the age she was, did that make sense thematically, like chronologically? Because Sydney would have had her like what, around Scream 5, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but maybe she should have been younger, but not a big deal. Yeah, I feel like they were trying to do that, like, hey, you'll never guess who did it, it was the mom. But she actually did a good, that's kind of where I was fine with picking Anna Camp originally as a killer, because in her like previous roles, I could see her doing kind of the like, I'm a crazy person thing, because she's done that before and done it pretty well. But then we have our typical like drawn out final scene of them fighting and so forth. And then once again, Tatum doesn't shoot her in the head. So she gets up, even though they've been shot like a bunch of times at this point. And we do the very obnoxious, like, her pop out of nowhere. And then I kind of made a Boondock Saints comparison in my video, but they both just like blast her with like 10 bullets each, shooting her in the head, obviously. And then we get, yeah, Matthew, your line about the I am Sydney Effin Prescott's daughter, which was cringe, but I mean, given everything else that's happened to that point, that really wasn't the worst thing for me. But it kind of, yeah, capped everything off. And then, yeah, Sydney kind of forgives Gail, because earlier she says like, hey, you're my only, she says Tatum, she named after Tatum because she was like the person she trusted last, or like had the best relationship with, which I think was supposed to be a jab at Gail. But I've heard people also point out that's kind of a jab at Dewey, because you would have thought they would have been pretty tight. Tatum was born 2009, just before Scream 4. Okay. Did she have a daughter in Scream 4? I don't know if I'll have to rewatch it. I don't know if I paid attention to that. I didn't think she had a kid in 4, but maybe. But yeah, they kind of wrap things up with them mending terms a little bit. I alluded to it in my review as well, but it kind of felt like the majority of the story. I mean, we had Sydney as like the main, I would say, but then Tatum was like the secondary main. And like a coming of age story of like their relationship of like, hey, she's in that phase of like, hey, I hate you, mom, let me do my own thing. But I don't know, it felt a little bit weird in a Scream movie, I guess. But overall, I thought it was okay. I know we just spent a lot of time probably bashing on stuff, which I don't know. The kills were for the most part cool. I mean, some of them were a little bit over the top for me, but some of the characters were strong. We'll talk characters, I guess, here. Let me grab the IMDb, actually. Let me switch over. Kind of running through it. I'll give in my general sense, my thoughts on if I like them as a character. Like, Sydney did great, which it is weird seeing Sydney Evans as that name now. The movie sounds dreadful. It was okay. I mean, I went into it after I knew the scores were all pretty bad, so it's kind of like when I saw Until Dawn. I went into it being like, everyone says this sucks, which I actually wound up, for the most part, liking Until Dawn. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means, but that was kind of similar to here, but maybe a little bit lower of results. Because I already knew that people weren't fans of it. But yeah, as far as characters go, Sydney, great job. Gail was Gail. I don't think she does the best. It's kind of cheesy when she has her lines. Like, I felt like half her lines were supposed to be like these one-liners, like hitting you really hard. Like, yeah, we're here to show up and we're badass. Didn't have it 4, but it was confirmed before 7. Huh. Yeah, that sounds like kind of a retcon, in my opinion, more than anything. Tatum, as I said, I wasn't a huge fan of her as a character. Mindy, I thought did a really good job, actually. She was awesome. I mean, she did the typical bar thing where it's like, hey, or the typical horror movie thing where it's like, hey, what's going to happen in this movie? Like, trying to be meta, like we've done with Randy and stuff before. She was like throwing her guesses out with her brother as far as who the killer was. She's the one that made the point that like Stu would not be retconned back. But I thought she actually was, I mean, at first when she showed up with like the car scene, I thought this is super cringy. But later on, other than the fact that her and her brother like just broke out Sydney's daughter during a curfew. Yeah, I liked her. The mid-credit scene with her was also great, where she's like doing her own reporting and she's like screwing it up every time. Cause I'm like, yep, that is what making a video is like. Like, she messes up her own name at one point and Chad's like, you messed up your own name? Like, yeah, I've been there. Trust me. Yeah, I don't know. Gail has been, to your point, since 5, like since these newer ones, I feel like both her, not until this movie, Sydney in this movie actually I feel like shined, but Gail 5 through 7 and Sydney in 5, I feel like we just included them for the sake of like, hey, these are these characters you like, and less because they actually had like a integral part to the story. Chad I thought was okay. I liked Mindy a little bit better than Chad in this one. Roger Jackson, I mean, he's the voice. He did fine. Anna Camp, I didn't like her reveal, but I thought she did the kind of like I'm a crazy person thing well. All the Scream movies kind of do this, so it's not like unusual, but it's like she's very even-keeled earlier on. Like, even when Gail comes up to her son and is like questioning him, she like comes in and defends him and stuff. Like, she's very tame. And then when we get the reveal, it turns into like a Scooby-Doo act where like she's been crazy this whole time and is just like very emotive and stuff like that. But they always do that stuff where it's like, oh, it was Mickey the whole time, even though Mickey seemed like chill, and suddenly he becomes like very sporadic. So it wasn't out of the ordinary. Overall, I thought she did good in the role. I didn't really care for her character too much, but I thought she did a good job. You're hoping one of the twins would die? Somebody commented that they would have liked for one of the twins to be the killer. I thought that could have been interesting if they did that route, because I thought that they would have been off the board for that. Joel McHale was okay as Mark Evans. I don't know how he survives at the end. He gets stabbed earlier in the movie, left in the garage, just like on the ground. And then not only does he survive, he like helps Sydney take them down in the end. Like, I don't know how he's alive. It felt very reminiscent to Chad not dying in the last movie. Chloe, I talked about, I thought that she was the best of the like generic friends. I thought her character was interesting, at least. Ben is the boyfriend. He was okay. He didn't have much personality. I think he was supposed to be kind of that brooding, like he was trying to be Billy, but didn't wind up being the killer, obviously. Lucas, I think he always looked like a red herring, kind of, where he's like interested in this stuff, but just because he's a weird kid, not because he's killing people. Hannah was like barely in the movie. Stu, as I mentioned, did a good job in the role. I don't know if I love what they did with him, but given the script and stuff, did a good job. Carl was not even in the movie. I mean, he was one of the 3 killers, but he's dead halfway through the movie, and he's not in the first half, so. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that stuff, like I mentioned about her being like so even keeled and then going like psycho when we get the reveal. I think a lot of that personality stuff doesn't get flushed out as much as it probably should. I think they try not to just have you think about that stuff. But yeah, to your point, Sydney should be like high alert considering her house setup and all that stuff. But I don't know. Maybe she hadn't really been doing killing till that. Well, she killed her husbands. I don't know. That's a good question. If we're saying Sydney's so great, why didn't she recognize it? I don't know. Marco, he was a pretty lame. Honestly, if I may wind up doing a short doing a ranking of Ghostface killers, which a lot of the newer ones I think were not great. He may be at the bottom of the list. He is in consideration for the very bottom. Robbie Rivers, the TV guy, the new Gale, pretty much. He was okay. These 2 deputies, I don't feel like they're really in the movie. I don't know some of these upcoming names, like these Aaron, Bella, Timmy. Are these just like very, very minor characters? This is the teacher that was like the very much red herring. He was also at the crime scene for some reason at the halfway point. I don't know why he would have been there, but he was. Even though I'm pretty sure we had a curfew and somehow he's there outside the house. Sure. Yeah, I think I've heard people say that they think Carl would have been the one to do that. I mean, we have literally no details though, because that was before any other characters, so it could have been anyone. It literally could have been, like, it could have been a character we even know exists at this point. Because it had 0 connection to the actual movie. These next couple I don't think I recognize really. And then we have our returning characters, obviously. Madison Scott, I mentioned those 2. I thought they did great and should have been in the movie more. I don't know, it just felt like it was irrelevant from the rest of the movie. So yeah, so probably split my thoughts on the characters. I guess if I'm trying to do like a top 5 characters, not in any order, from the movie, Sydney. Oh, well, technically, I would probably include both of these characters. Sydney, Scott, Madison. That's already 3. Then I don't know. Chloe and Mindy, maybe Jessica. A lot of the newer young cast I definitely didn't like as much. Just because they didn't have much, like, as I mentioned earlier, you just have Hannah die, McKenna Grace's character, and nobody really cares. It doesn't feel like that's like a real person when you have stuff like that, so. Yeah, actually, I have the article pulled up here. We can jump into that now. Actually, let me take a quick step away before we jump into this article. But to your point, there's an interview where he talked about an alternate ending. Let me be right back. I'm gonna grab some water real quick. Appreciate the patience. But yes, I have the article you referred to here. Where he talks about that. Let me run through real quick. I think it's like near the end. Let's see. Also, I know some people were talking about Scream 8 also, and like thoughts there or timeline there. I don't know if they'll use Kevin Williamson for directing or anything like that, but he has said before, I think he says it in this article even, that he is now working on Universal Monsters stuff with Netflix. So he's going to be tied down doing that. So he's not going to be working on anything Scream for some time. We'll see. Maybe it'll just be another couple of years, or maybe they'll have someone else step in. But he's going to be busy for this next little bit. Where's the part you were talking about? Talks about his thoughts on AI and stuff here. Yeah. So here he says there was an alternate ending where Stu was actually alive. And he said that through test audiences, it didn't perform well, and that led to them deciding not to do that route. So interesting. I don't know. I feel like a lot of fans probably would have liked it more. Maybe how they chose to do it would have been not great. But yeah, to your point, he has stated that Stu was potentially alive in a version of the movie, but not the one they obviously went with. All right, let me see. Anything else from that article actually before? Which I know some people question though, like, does this mean Stu's gone? Like, I feel like I've seen interviews with Kevin Williamson where he's like pretty adamant, like Stu's not coming back kind of thing. And then you have Matthew Lillard talk and he's like, actually, I'd be pumped to come back kind of thing. So the actual people creating it, I feel like, have probably moved on from Stu. Like, if you said Kevin Williamson's directing the next one, do I think Stu's in it? I don't. But maybe that's intentional. Would the movie work better if you didn't expect Stu to be in it and then he shows up at the end? Maybe. It does satisfy people that want him back, but also satisfies people that want a surprise. I think it'd be tough though if he wants to be in the killer in any future movie. Like, having that not be spoiled before it comes out or like leaked would be challenging. I don't really even know where they go from here regardless though, because I mean, Sydney's story has been told again. I kind of think that if you do another movie, would you do Tatum off at college? Maybe. Kind of how they did Scream 2. I've heard some people say maybe doing like a Kirby spinoff, which I like Hayden's character, but I don't know if that needs its own separate thing. Supposedly they're going off Scream 8 with an idea that Nev had. Huh. I have heard him say that he was pumped to be like working with Nev again, like Kevin and Nev pairing up again. I think both of them were more comfortable having the other one there, given like all the previous drama. Any killer reveal would have been better than what we got. Yeah. I think just, I don't know, they didn't really... The motives always kind of suck in these though, right? Like, the motives in the last few for sure have been like, okay. Like, the last one's like, oh, because you're our family. That one, I guess, makes some sense, but the motives are definitely the weaker parts, I feel like, a lot of times in the reveal. But I've made the point too that since they're crazy people, should their motive make sense? Maybe not. Maybe not. Take place during vacation. Oh, maybe. I mean, that's kind of what isn't that what I Know What You Did Last Summer kind of did? I'm just thinking of like Jack Black with his like vacation outfit on. And I still kind of think it would be cool if they had somebody who was involved in the opening wind up being like somebody who dies in the opening being the killer. But maybe that would suck too. You never know. It's kind of what Jigsaw did, I guess. Yeah, they kind of did the vacation thing a little bit. But I don't know where you go from here, honestly. Like, Tatum College makes sense if you're having that be the cast. Maybe something with Kirby, I don't know. There's definitely not a clear runway at this point. I think there's still a lot of people hoping for Stu to be a thing, but I don't know, man. You'd have to find a way to do that effectively. Given that we just did the fake out with the AI. Like, maybe if you want to say whoever did these AIs and like the whole news thing that Sydney did brought the real Stu out. Maybe. Oh god. I don't think we need to make Gale the killer. They kind of already did that with I Know What You Did Last Summer also. I don't think they would ever. I think Courtney Cox is the actress, right? I think she would never like let her character get treated poorly because she's an executive producer, I believe. Yeah, like I think she has a lot of sway in what they decide going forward. So I think that she always wants to be like kind of like Laurie Strode role where it's like I'm a badass kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, if they, I talked about having like one of Chad and Mindy be a killer. I think if they do something with a character that we've known for a while, definitely need a strong reason for it. Scream Matrix, right? Is it the multiverse of Scream? But yeah, I don't know. I had a decent time going to the movie. It wasn't like the best, but also wasn't the worst. 5 out of 10's appropriately where it's at. I think it's a movie. I mentioned this to you, Rusty, that I wonder if over time, if I forgive some of the downfalls a little bit, like some of the conveniences, some of the poor writing in areas. Scream in space first. Yeah, I mean, for now, I had it in the same spot in last place. I debated at one point being like, I don't know, I do not really love 3 a whole lot. But I think they're probably still pretty close. So like, I don't think 7's like down here and the rest of them are up here necessarily. Like in the rankings I did, it's probably like 1, 4, maybe a little down a little bit, 2, down a little bit, 5, 6, like 3, 2. So I don't think they're like 7's close to 3 for me. I was a decision point I had to make for it. I think the answer is 3, Matthew, but that's not set in stone. Maybe time will forgive 7 a little bit more. You won't. It deserves it. See, kill-wise, I would agree. I think kill-wise is better than 3. I mean, I don't like the beard kill, though. That one was... It was creative, I'll give it that. But it was like, okay, what are we doing? True. 3 did get impacted by current events at the time. But yeah, we'll see where they take things next. I don't know. if they have to do something like right away. Like I don't expect Scream 8 for like, what would you say, 2029 Scream 8 maybe? Yeah, the beer tap kill I was not a fan of. It was so goofy. I just had to be like, all right. I had to kind of just turn my brain off at that moment. Like, let's not. We're here just for like silliness at this point. Eight is filming in 2027. Okay, well that may be. It could be a 2028 release potentially. They do tend to do it in the beginning of the year. It feels like though for this last three of them, like 5, 6, and 7 all came out between like January and March. It seems. So we'll see if they stick with that or not. There's a long ways until then. I assume they'll make another one though, because I mentioned them now being $1 billion franchise. I think last I looked, I don't think this one will wind up being. Well, I don't know. I haven't looked at like international numbers. If this one will surpass the first one or not. I mean, there's obviously inflation and stuff, so. Guess it depends if you take that into account. But yeah. What would you guys, I guess, score-wise give it? I think, Matthew, you said a 7 out of 10. Which for most people, that probably is similar to a 5. Like, I tend to be more widespread. Although I think you may have had it 4th, right? 3rd or 4th? Be surprised to surpass the first one. Let me see what the current box office is. Scream 7. Okay, let's see if this. Why can I not just find a number somewhere? $97.2 million opening. Is that what this says also? Yeah. So $97 million opening weekend. And I didn't even see it opening weekend. Although I was the only one in my theater when I saw it. I will say that. 2 out of 5. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same territory. Really enjoyed 7. Way better than 5 and 6. You hated the Carpenter Sister stuff. I didn't mind it, honestly. I thought it was okay. I think I liked Melissa Barrera's character more in 6. I feel like they gave her more time to shine than in 5. But I don't know. I feel like they have to move on at some point, though, don't they? Because if you're keeping this franchise alive, how many times can you have Nev Campbell get attacked and have it feel new? Like, I like that they kind of branched out a little bit to keep it fresh. At this point, though, I don't know if they'll keep doing that or not. Let the franchise die. I mean, I told you, I don't think with the money that's gonna happen. Let's see. Let's see what this says. This is not taking into account inflation. I feel like this has Scream 6 above 1, but I thought 1 was the most. Not sure. Well, that's not a working website. Actually, I think whatever page I was on the other day actually had it broken out. I don't know where that was. Was it Wiki? Yeah, maybe this was it. Yeah, highest grossing. This must take into account inflation because it has Scream with 173 mil, at least on Wikipedia. So if that's the case, we just had 97 for opening weekend. I don't know what the normal like attrition week over week is. I assume it'll be in theaters for a while, like at least a couple weeks. I will say, trailer wise for it, Scary Movie looked funny. I'll give credit there. Ready or Not 2, I don't think I'm gonna like it, if I'm being honest. I originally thought, like, I don't know how much more they can do. I think Rusty, you and I talked about that, them showing us a lot of kills in the trailer also. But it felt like very hokey from what they've shown us thus far. I like a lot of the actors in it, so maybe it'll deliver. But that comes out the same weekend as Project Hail Mary, and I think I would lean towards Project Hail Mary, even though I'm not like a major Gosling fan. Like, I think that one sounds more interesting to me. Setting up Tatum to be the next final girl. I think that's probably the case. That would be the smart move. I mentioned I didn't love her in the movie, but I think that'd be a smart move for them because I think a lot of people did like her. I guess the only hard part with that is if you have her, you're probably also gonna have Sydney, right? Because if she gets attacked, like Sydney's immediately gonna run through the street to get to her to try to defend her. So that's the only thing I'm not sure of. If you have her in the movie, will you also have her mom then? Yeah, the Scary Movie 6 trailer looked hilarious. Like, I think they're gonna probably push the needle more than I expect modern movies to do. Like, they seem not to be afraid of offending people. It felt very South Park-esque. What else did I see trailer-wise? I think a lot of them were repeated ones for the most part, but I think Scary Movie 6 was the one that stood out the most positively. We also have that Undertone movie comes out. Is it next week? Let me see. Yes. Wait. Yeah, looks like next week. Hopefully that's winds up being a good movie. All right, well that's probably it for me when it comes to Scream. Unless you guys have any final thoughts you want to talk about, but appreciate folks jumping in and listening to me ramble. Pretty much just run through the plot of the movie. Kind of dog on it quite a bit, but it could have been worse. I'll say that. But there were definitely some over-the-top moments. See online someone said they should kill Sydney off for Tatum's story. Yeah, I don't think that they would agree to that, to your point. I question if they would agree to even kill Gale off. So I don't think Nev would want that to happen. I don't know. It was a fun time. It wasn't that good, but it was something to do. I guess I didn't fully say this in my review. I kind of meant to, but as far as a recommendation of should people watch it, I mean, it's a little late at this point, but if you're a diehard fan, you definitely should watch it. If you're pretty neutral on the franchise, I don't think you need to rush out and see it. It seems like probably a movie that's best meant for streaming. Like, you want to be maybe caught up to the current plot if you're somewhat into the story. But it's not something that was like the best movie of all time or anything. Nor do I feel like the big screen made it significantly better. Like I mentioned in my review, them like doing the boot stomping and stuff like that. Like, that's obviously got to be more of a thing in the theater with like the bass and stuff, but I don't think you have to watch it on a big screen to really get the same experience. So my recommendation would be stream it, but I realize this is kind of a weird movie to do that with because there's also spoilers that are a thing. Courtney, I believe, had a no cluster contract. Which, like, threw that in. She's like, all right, just in case I'm not next up, right, guys? I do think she's normally, her name is mentioned during the like executive producer stuff, so I feel like she would have a large sway there. Drops on Paramount on the 30th. That's pretty quick. Although I guess in fairness, it probably should be these days. Like when I wanted to go see Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, that was out of theaters after like a week and a half. So I was like, oh, guess I'm not going to go see it. 30th is pretty fast though, if that's the kid. Really? Huh. I like would have thought maybe this will be in theaters for another like 2 or so weeks, which puts it like around like the 20th. That feels awfully fast. I don't know. Let me see if I can find any details there. Scream 7 on streaming when? According to this, it could first appear on digital platforms like Amazon and Apple TV around mid-April. But that's to buy it. That's not to stream it. Do they have it on here? Let me see. Estimated release is early June, July. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a while until you're able to stream it. Buy it probably within like a month or two, but I think it'll be another few months before they put it on streaming. Yeah, Facebook you definitely can't trust all the time. People looking for those clicks. I think it'll be buying it digitally. It sounded like mid-April maybe, and then another couple months after that for streaming. Paramount's getting quite their empire after buying Warner, all this other stuff. But yeah, I think we'll probably wrap it there for today. I am tempted. Today was the release day for Slay the Spire 2, and for I think all you guys know that I'm a major fan of the first one. I actually have not bought the game yet, but probably going to. And I debated streaming it tonight, tomorrow, not sure exactly. But if I want to buy it, I'll definitely be streaming it. Buy it. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad because I think it's cheaper during early access than it is during final launch. That's the other thing too, though. The game is only in early access, so I think a lot of people are sometimes against playing a game till it's finished. But this one is going to be still in the works. Yeah. I do get a 10% off because I already own the first game. so there is that. So it's like, I think it's like $23 or something. But yeah, the amount of hours I spent on the first game, there's very little chance I wouldn't get my return on investment with that one. So yeah, that may be next live stream. That could be what's on the docket. So, but we will move on from Scream movie. What's the before we close out? What's kind of the upcoming movie schedule? Let's see. Movie release is 2026. Sees all time. Nev does not have no kill clause. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like maybe semantics. One's like actual contractually required versus one's like her just personal approach to addressing it. Like whether she would sign up to do it or not. I mean, that makes more sense to have the second one because then you're not just immediately like turning away everything. You're allowing yourself to read it and see if it's something that makes sense. I don't know, if I was a character in a movie or in a franchise, like even if it was like the only thing I did, I feel like I'd have a willingness to be killed off if it was like made sense. Also, she is like us all getting older, so eventually she's gonna want to do more movies anyway. I don't know. Let's see upcoming releases. Is this... How accurate is this going to be? Oh, maybe it is. Okay. Let's kind of look out the rest of the year, maybe even here real quick. So we have The Bride, which I don't know if Rusty's still here, but it sounded like he did not think that was stellar. Hoppers, I don't know if I'll see it in the theaters. If I do, it'll be on next Tuesday, but if I don't, I am actually thinking it could be kind of fun. It kind of just feels like it's a Bug's Life fused with Avatar. Bride looks good. I'm intrigued by it. I mean, I like, I'm looking at the actors here. I mean, Christian Bale, Gyllenhaal, Jessie Buckley. She was the one that was in that Dark Pictures game, right? The Devil in Me. I think she was the quote unquote famous person in that one. I don't think I know these three. Is this a hockey movie? What is this about? Probably like most sports movies where going through conflict and you have to overcome it. Interesting though. Don't get a lot of hockey movies. Undertone, that one's definitely got my eye. I've said this a bunch before, but the first half of the trailer I really liked. The second half I did not like as much, so hopefully it's more of the first half. I'm hoping it's scary and not like gimmicky, I guess is more so what I would say. Yeah, then you got this weekend with these two, which are both of interest. We'll see on which one we see in theaters, maybe. I don't think I know really any of these. Like, why would Ready or Not have just like moved back a week or something? I feel like that would have been much better to have your own weekend. We got Mario. I didn't see the first one in theaters. I waited till it came to streaming, but I'm open to seeing this one maybe. I'm a fan of Mario and a fan of Nintendo properties, just not as big a fan of Nintendo themselves. Illumination also does great stuff too, so. Okay, I haven't heard any of these. Hamlet, like Hamlet? We'll have to pay attention to shows as well, because actually tomorrow is when that, maybe even tonight then, that Dinosaurs Netflix show comes out, and then a week until One Piece? Not even, is it on the, I think it's on the 10th or something. So around a week. The Mummy has me probably thinking, I don't know, I'm a little concerned about this one from the trailer. It seemed like it had some potential, but I kind of feel like it's going to be a letdown for me. I have not heard of it. Oh, there's Michael. We talked about the biopic stuff the other day. Is there an Elvis thing that's in theaters right now? I think I saw that the other day too. It was like called Epic Elvis Presley in Concert, which is kind of a fun title. Devil Wears Prada 2. At this point in life, if someone says the Devil Wears Prada, I think of the band more than the movie, which is more of an original source. Ooh, Mortal Kombat 2. I didn't really love what I watched of the first one, but I think some of the changes could be pretty solid. Obsession. Not big into Star Wars, so I'm probably not going to see this one. But I imagine it could do well because people love The Mandalorian. Backrooms. This one's you, Cope. Passenger the one I've been seeing the trailer for, where like the person's in the car? I know it sounded generic, but they like pull over and the one guy goes to the bathroom and then comes back and the car's like the guy's gone. Is that one? Yeah, hopefully it winds up being a good one. I do feel like these game adaptations can be hit or miss, but I know you mentioned the creators probably involved. Oh, this is another tough weekend. Mo 2 and Scary Movie. Are they not calling it Scary Movie 6? It's just called Scary Movie. Either way, this one, I think Mo 2 is probably going to depend on how the reviews are if I go to see it in theaters. Because, I don't know, having Jared Leto, maybe he's not that integral to like the story. It's probably more so He-Man, but you think Skeletor is probably in it enough. I just don't want it to be like a Morbius where it's like that had some potential but then flopped. I don't think it will. I think it'll be at least pretty good. But this is a tough weekend too to make a choice. Disclosure Day. Is that the only thing that weekend? Dang, June starts off hot. Like, I'm interested in these three all right here. Toy Story 5, it'll do well. I haven't seen 4 actually. The first 3 are all great though. Supergirl, Jackass 5. It'd be interesting to see how much of that is older footage, because I know that apparently older footage of Bam is going to be in the movie, but he's not in the movie himself currently because him and Knoxville and like Jeff Tremaine are not on good terms. So no, it'll be worse than the other He-Man. It's fair. That's kind of how I feel about like Mortal Kombat. It's like it can't be worse than the other questionable Mortal Kombat movies. But yeah, hopefully this one's to be good. I mean, how many times have we said this before? But I think this is the last Jackass movie. I saw some interview the other day with Knoxville, and he was like in tears because he couldn't ride bulls anymore. Which I think the point of like, hey, there's this thing I did actively before, and I can't do anymore because of age and attrition on my body. That part I understand entirely. But the fact that the thing he chose to be emotional about is the jumping on a bull, I'm like, I would probably pick some other stuff that I would be sad to be without, but fair. I don't know. Hopefully it winds up being all right. I don't know if I've even watched all of the Jackass movies, if I'm being honest. I watch the show all the time. Definitely watched the first one. I don't know after the first one how many I watched, though. What else we got? Moana. Is this live action Moana? I feel like Moana and Moana 2 didn't come out that long ago, but we make everything live action now. The Odyssey. This one's going to be good, I feel like. I feel like this will be a lot of people's favorite for the year. 4 was funny. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, because the show did exist beforehand, or like these other shows like Viva La Bam or CKY or whatever else, part of it's funny because like that's the guy you know from something. Like it being a new person, you're like, well, I don't have the connection to you, so watching you suffer is just kind of sad, actually, probably, and less funny. But it is wild that like through all that stuff, I mean, he's probably still got problems, but like Steve-O is the one that's like got his stuff together. Don't know if I would have expected that. Evil Dead Burns probably gonna be great. Spider-Man, same situation there. I don't think they're making a third Super Troopers, really? Okay. I don't know if they should be doing that, but maybe some people like it. This one, I don't know much about it, but I did have it on my most anticipated for top 15 movies. I remember the premise intrigued me, and you also have Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor here, so. Insidious, The Bleeding World. Just another Insidious. Air Bud Returns. What are these movies? Like, what? the dog starts. This is also, it probably should have gotten bounced off because Godzilla should have been number 1, but I think I had this at number 15. Nothing really this weekend. This is a Labor Day weekend then, right? That should be a lot more stuff coming out than I would feel like. I mean, it's only March at this point, so stuff could get added. Stuff probably will get added. Resident Evil. Hopefully that delivers. We'll see. This is a dude that's in Cobra Kai. Like, it's kind of interesting character choices thus far. I don't know who he would be. The truck driver at the beginning of RE2. What's up, Chris? I'm just on IMDb. I just honestly just Googled 2026 movie releases and they brought me here. Terrifier 4. I need to probably watch. Are you guys fans of the Terrifier movies? I don't think I've ever actually watched all of one in its entirety. I've watched like the opening of 3, but I probably should watch them from start to finish. I went to a panel last year that had the few of the cast members. Actually, I think it may have been these 3 people, and they seem like cool people. So I just know it's going to be a little bit I've heard at least the first one, the plot's maybe not fully there. It's more just for like violence and stuff, but that's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point. I hadn't considered that this is like not just on streaming. Well, you have to check it out now though, right? Well, here's a clip. We already have some footage. Remember when Air Bud came out, and then after that they just came out with every other like him playing every other sport, like football. I feel like basketball was like okay, but then we just added more sports to it. Soccer, I think. One is very meh. More of a sizzle reel effects. 2 and 3 much better. That's kind of what I've heard, that there's more depth to 2 and 3 for Terrifier. And that the first one is kind of just like, I don't want to say like an indie movie, it's almost like a pilot for the idea of Terrifier, from what I have heard. Maybe this will be good. I should probably watch Avatar stuff. Wait, is this animated or live action? Okay, it is animated. I'm like, I know all of these names. Dave Bautista, Steve Yeun, Taika Waititi. Decent cast. Does the version of Sam and Tara for Scream 8 with Stu? You think everyone's coming back? We're just doing the whole Avengers. Everyone that's ever been in a Scream movie returns. I think a lot of people would like that. Street Fighter, I have more interest in this, I think, than Mortal Kombat. Mainly because I think it's going to be funnier. Whereas Mortal Kombat, I kind of assume it'll be more serious. I mean, there'll be jokes because Carl Urban will just drop jokes a bunch, I'm sure, but I think Street Fighter sounds more fun. Clayface, I have hopes for. Will it deliver? I don't know. -0, let's go. So excited for that. I don't know. I mean, this comes out in Japan in what, like June or something? So we will probably know who else is in the movie. Personal hope would be for Anguirus. Although at the same time, I kind of feel like if Anguirus is in it, he's going to get his ass kicked. So I don't know if I want that. Another Cat in the Hat. Okay. What is this? See, we're doing all these biopics now. Jimmy Stewart. Return of the Living Dead. I don't know if I know much about this one. It's got a full trailer. Oh wait, this came out. That's like 2025. Maybe it's coming to theaters in 2026 and it was like at festivals in 2025. Not sure. The other Hunger Games. I only watched the first two movies. I was a huge fan of the books before the movies were a thing. Is this another biopic? Rocky? I love how I would say this just almost describes the description of Rocky. But it's Stallone playing Rocky. Oh, do we need more of these? Do we need more Meet the Parents movies? I don't think we do. I feel like that's a franchise that should have been a one and done, in my opinion. Like, Meet the Parents is hilarious. Meet the Fockers, it had some moments, and then we just kind of just fell off a cliff after that. Oh, the Return of the Living Dead got pushed back, you were thinking? Yeah, it doesn't give a whole lot of confidence to your point. Violent IT. I know a lot of people love the first one, or like the last one, I guess. Jumanji 3. Isn't it technically Jumanji 4 if we're doing the Robin Williams one also? Are these really the same weekend? There's no shot they would do that. This is like, it has to be a tentative date, right? Where can I look this up? Let me see. Dune 3 release date. December 18th. So I think that is the same. Why? What? These are probably like the two biggest like fan base movies for the year, and they're the same weekend. I kind of question if that's going to change, but apparently right now Avengers and Dune 3 come out the same day. There's when did we get a second Angry Birds movie? Werewolf. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Willem Dafoe. Okay. We have any more details other than that? We were definitely prime in the Universal Monsters time period with Frankenstein, Dracula, Werewolf. Anything else pretty much? Invisible Man maybe? All right, cool. Well, I think we'll wrap up there. Decent look at what's coming up. Probably on the horizon. I talked about maybe Hoppers. Probably not, though. I think my next potential movie would be Undertone, if it's supposed to be worth checking out. Then if not that, maybe Project Hail Mary. Did you hear Kevin Williams had two? Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Chris, that it was in a test screening that didn't perform well, so they opted to not go with that pathing. Which kind of wild that was like, I don't know if people had to sign like an NDA before seeing a test screening of that, but if that was a thing but it didn't leak, pretty impressive. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Appreciate you guys jumping in, hanging out for a bit, talking Scream 7 in a lot more detail and just kind of rambling on it and venting on it probably. As far as upcoming stuff on the channel, I mentioned Slay the Spire 2 is out, so I'll probably be playing that. So hopefully you guys are into that. If not, then there'll be other stuff, I'm sure. And a lot more stuff coming out, both movie and show wise. So we'll be keeping an eye on all of it and doing videos on some of it. So, but other than that, I will let you guys go for the evening. Thank you for hanging out, and I will catch you guys next time. Take care.